Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to our virtual support session today. Looking forward to sharing with you a little bit more on some of the fun details that we get to do in Pathways. For those of you that haven't been able to join us today, I'm going to talk a little bit about selecting your path and some of the other options that are available for you. So let me go ahead and share my screen for you here so that you can see what we're looking at. And actually, I'm going to go all the way back to the Toastmasters.org site. So you can see I'm logged in. You'll always see your name up here. And I'm always going to go for these purposes to the Pathways tab. So I'm going to go to access my path through Basecamp. And here's where I have all of my options. First, remember you have choose your path, access your path through Basecamp, and there you can log in as a member or Basecamp manager if you have that accessibility. Or you can go to the navigator, which is that document we talked about during the club trainings, which gives you all sorts of information, not just about Pathways, but about meeting roles, the roles of the executive committee, all of that. So you can launch that here, and you can launch it in several different languages as well. Now, one of the things that was brought up in one of my club meetings was about what happens if a member doesn't have an email address, or they're not online, they don't have access to an online format. Well, one thing that we can do is we can choose a path for another member. Now, keep in mind that when you do this, it will only give you the print options. Because if I'm selecting a path for myself, we have the very interactive tutorial or the test or the assessment that you must take to assess your skills to decide which path you're going to take. So if I'm selecting it for somebody else, there's no way for me to take that assessment because it just wouldn't make sense. Honestly, you can't take the assessment for somebody else to find that. But as a Pathways member, I can choose a path for another member in my club, and this will give me the print options available. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to path selection, and it's going to tell me what the fees are. So again, we've talked about this before. The printed materials are $45 plus a $25 materials fee. Now, I'm not entirely sure how this works, if it's the member's first path, since those should be free. Well, at least a $20 fee associated with being a member. So it may be $25 instead of the $45 plus the $25 material fee. So I'm not entirely sure how that works, but if you are getting a request from a member to get a path, this is one way to do it. And then you will select the member that it's for. So you can see all the members of my club here. I'm just going to click on myself. I just want to, well, excuse me, I'll click on my husband and see what happens. So it's going to say, there we go. It's going to give me all the available print paths. So there are only 5, but they are good. They come in that very nicely bound type path, and we can actually read a little bit about them here. And let's just choose this path. Probably won't. So it's in my shopping cart. It's got all of my information on there, which you can see it's out of date because I've just moved recently. But you can see it's got the dynamic leadership one, the print there. That's what I'm looking for right there. If this is his first path, I'm not sure about the $20 fee. I suppose that would depend on how he would log in, but we all have to kind of look at that. So that's a question that I asked that I can look for the answer myself, hopefully soon. But we'd have all that information to check out, and then this individual, so in this instance, it's my husband, would get the dynamic leadership print path. So that's one way to go about getting your members in Pathways, even if they don't have an actual email address or they don't want to log in here. Now, I don't want to do this, so I'm going to actually back out, and I'm going to go back to Basecamp. You might get angry at me because I didn't select my path, but that's okay. So one other thing I was going to point out, now that we have members getting into Basecamp and getting into their paths, I'm going to log in as a Basecamp manager. And this is going to be important. Every time you log into your Basecamp manager site, go look at your 3 different tabs. These 2 are going to be the most important, the pending requests. As soon as you start getting requests for level completion, get in there, make sure that you're completing those so that your members are getting their badges and being able to move on to the next levels. But we're going to look today at the member progress, because now I have several members that are actually getting into base camp, getting into their paths, and I kind of want to see where my club is. So once I'm in here, I can see individual progress being made towards each of these, which is really fun. I love graphs. That's most of my job is dealing with graphs and charts. So I want to, let's say nothing showed up here. We can see absolutely nothing, and you know that's definitely not what we want. We want to be able to see our data. We want to be able to see where everyone's going. You can either refresh these individually, or you can refresh all of them by doing this options and refresh. And this is going to refresh all of my data for me so that you can see right there refreshing now. We don't have anybody in level 2, so you won't actually see anybody there, but you will see the little bar going round and round thinking, telling you that it is thinking there. Once you get people getting along further in their paths, you'll be able to see a lot more progress in here. But let's just go to dynamic leadership. Excuse me, let's go to the details here. So I'm going to go ahead and share this new screen. So what you're seeing here are the details of the dynamic leadership level 1 in progress. So we can go down here, we can kind of see who's in it. We can see the different people, where they're at with their progress, the user count. We have 2 people in dynamic leadership, 2 people in effective coaching, all the way down. You can see those are really great little aspects to have. You can see the user when they've been active. So we have 5 active right here for myself. Go figure. But you can also see that I have 8 people that are currently in pathways, which is good numbers to know, and 8 people that are in their level 1 as well. So if you're looking to get those education awards for the Distinguished Club program, you can kind of check and see who's in level 1, who's been in there a while, who needs to kind of maybe get a bump to get through level 1 to get to their level 2, and you can check progress that way. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now. Actually, wait, how do we get here? So we can show the labels. So we have 2 people, that's what the 2 means here, in dynamic leadership, 1 person in each of these. So we know how many people are actually going into each of the different paths. We can save the image, and you can also print the chart. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to exit out of this one. And let's go back to the other screen, the dashboard screen. So it'd be the same thing. So that's the individual progress. The path progress, path type, recently selected paths, and external training are all going to have relatively the same information on them. So right now it's refreshing all of them. You can see at the time the last refresh is here. It says no records found. This is when I'm saying you should refresh all of them, because it looks like you have no data. It's not true. You do have data. You just need to go ahead and refresh everything in there. So let's give it a second to refresh. And they do have little bits of information to see all members. Select options and refresh. Hover over a box, select an arrow, and select view details. So we'll go ahead and click on those different options as soon as we're done refreshing. You can see it's still thinking down here. If I wanted to refresh these on a 1-by-1 basis, again, they have the drop-down menu that you can refresh, and that'll be for each of these. It's apparently taking a little bit longer to think today, probably because it is Friday. I'll just give this just a little bit more time, but you can tell that it is refreshing. There it is. So again, this is the same type of the individual progress. So we can see we have 2 people, the 2 here in dynamic leadership. innovative planning, presentation mastery, registered and in progress are the differences in the colors here. So in progress being your burgundy colored bar, registered is the gray colored bar, just not started yet. So according to this, to see all members, select options and refresh, which we already did. Hover over a box below, select the arrow, and select View Details. I'll share that new screen with you. So there we are. We can see all those details again. Where we are, they're all in progress right now. No one's completed a level 1. So that's the status of all paths. We have these many that are being currently worked on, these 2 that are registered for, not worked on as of yet, but that's yet to come, which is great. It's good to get people registered, get them excited, get them in pathways. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that screen, but those are some of the few things that we can look at once we get into our paths, into Basecamp Manager, and how to select a path when a member may not have an email address or access to the internet. So hope this was helpful for you. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Please send them to me. We do have 3 meetings next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll be happy to talk to you at that time. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.